The laughter followed him down the street, like an echo that refused to fade. When Daniel Brooks signed the papers for a rusted, abandoned tiny house sold for just $1 by the county, people shook their heads in disbelief. A grown man, a United States Army veteran no less, choosing to live in something barely bigger than a storage shed. To them it looked like desperation dressed up as stubborn pride. To Daniel, it was the last place he could afford, and the only place left where he might finally be alone with his thoughts without being judged for the scars he carried inside. Before we continue, if you believe in silent heroes, second chances, and the quiet power of kindness, take a moment to like this video, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive and reaching the people who need them most. Daniel had returned from service years earlier, but part of him never really came back. The war had taken friends, sleep, and the simple ability to feel normal in crowded rooms. He worked odd jobs when he could, drifting from one short-term rental to another until medical bills and missed paychecks caught up with him. The tiny house sat at the edge of a forgotten lot outside a small American town, surrounded by weeds and judgment. Its metal siding was dented, the windows cracked, and the door barely closed. People laughed because it looked unlivable. Daniel didn't laugh. He saw shelter, silence, and a chance to start again. His only constant was Bear, a large mixed-breed dog he had adopted from a military shelter. Bear had been trained for calmness, loyalty, and awareness, qualities Daniel admired because he had lost them in himself. Together, they cleaned the tiny house inch by inch. Daniel patched holes, replaced broken boards, and worked until his hands ached. Nights were cold, and the wind rattled the thin walls, but it was his. No landlord, no rules, just survival and slow progress. The town watched from a distance. Some mocked openly, others whispered. A few shook their heads with pity. Daniel kept his head down. Pride was something he no longer had the energy to protect. What mattered was waking up each morning and knowing Bear was fed, the roof still held, and the nightmares hadn't completely won. One evening, after weeks of repairs, Bear began acting strangely. He paced near the back wall of the tiny house, sniffing intensely and pawing at a section of flooring Daniel hadn't touched yet. At first, Daniel assumed it was a mouse or some buried scrap, but Bear wouldn't stop. His behavior was focused, urgent, almost trained. Daniel trusted Bear more than his own instincts, so he grabbed a crowbar and began lifting the warped wooden planks. Beneath the floor, hidden by insulation and time, was a small steel hatch. Daniel froze. The house had been listed as abandoned for years, with no history worth mentioning. His heart raced as he forced the hatch open. Inside was a sealed compartment containing documents, old photographs, and a weathered duffel bag. As Daniel pulled everything into the light, his hands trembled, not from fear, but from a feeling he couldn't name yet. The documents revealed the tiny house had once belonged to a Vietnam-era veteran who disappeared decades earlier. The man had quietly used the space as a safe house for struggling veterans, undocumented workers, and families escaping domestic violence. The duffel bag contained cash wrapped in oilcloth, handwritten notes of encouragement, and a ledger listing names, dates, and small acts of help. No fame, no recognition, just service, hidden under the floorboards of a place no one valued. Daniel sat on the floor for hours, reading every word. The laughter he had endured suddenly felt insignificant. This tiny house wasn't a joke. It was a continuation. The man before him had lived quietly, helped others quietly, and disappeared quietly, leaving behind a legacy meant for someone who understood what it meant to be broken and still show up. From that night on, Daniel changed. He didn't tell the town what he found. He didn't post about it or seek attention. Instead, he used the money to repair the house properly and started small. He opened the door to one veteran sleeping in his truck, then another who couldn't handle shelters. Word spread slowly, not through gossip, but through gratitude. The tiny house became a place where people felt safe enough to breathe again. Daniel still struggled. Some nights the weight of responsibility pressed hard on his chest. Some guests left without thanks. Some relapsed into old habits. But others stayed, healed, and moved on. Daniel found purpose where he once felt only emptiness. Bear remained at his side, greeting newcomers with calm acceptance, as if he understood the importance of what they were building together. The town noticed a change before they understood it. The laughter faded, replaced by confusion, then respect. Local churches donated supplies. A mechanic fixed Daniel's truck for free. A teacher brought hot meals on Sundays. No one apologized outright for laughing, but their actions said enough. The tiny house stood stronger now, surrounded not by weeds, but by quiet support. Years passed. Daniel never became rich. He never sought awards. But he slept better than he had in decades. The nightmares softened. The silence felt less heavy. He honored the legacy hidden beneath the floor by becoming exactly what the house needed him to be. Not a hero in uniform, but a man willing to open his door when others closed theirs. Just before the end of this story, take a moment to comment below and share what this journey meant to you. Your voice helps spread hope further than you may realize. Everyone laughed when a veteran bought a $1 tiny house because they judged its size and price, not its soul. They didn't know that inside its walls lived history, sacrifice, and second chances waiting for the right person to listen. Sometimes, the smallest places carry the greatest purpose. And sometimes, a loyal dog knows exactly where healing is buried.